Hello. So we are here at this beautiful lady, this lady's face, this beautiful website, because I wanted to show you some best practices in real life because we want to show up, we want to be visible, we want to be seen in real life so that we can grow our business and get more business and expand outside of our own network of family, friend centric marketing methods. And I wanted to share best practice with you. And I enjoy using case studies. My background is in healthcare, and that's just how we learn. We learn based on case studies. And sometimes I know that people's examples they've done, you're like, how can that actually work for me? And I'm hoping that you'll be able to see how principles that I've shared from Danni can apply to you in real life. And if you have questions about how this applies to you, feel free to reach out to me or leave a comment below. But Danni is my baby cousin. She is my business muse. I was first bit by the entrepreneurial bug when I was 8. She probably was 5 at the time, but and her mom is very entrepreneurial, had hair bows. She sold hair bows. She had a daycare, very entrepreneurial. Her dad supported her family as a jazz musician even for a time, and he was involved in sales. But in any case, very, very creative entrepreneurial roots she has. So when she started her business in 2009, I was like, oh my goodness, my baby cousin can start her business. Why can't I? Surely I can. And I took a course of how to be a virtual assistant in 2012. And then in 2016, I started my own business. So all along the way, I've been taking lots of notes from her and just want to share with you best practices when it comes to professional branding and building a platform, right? And being seen online. So this is a recap that she has done. 10 years, 10 things that she's learned, a bit of a recap. And she's sharing stories and behind the scenes and best practices and very honest and open and transparent. Got several likes and, lots of shares, I'm sure, even comments, which is absolutely a thing for the world of blogging. The reference is 2020. And if someone has found your blog, came over here and commented, that is a huge thing. So she really does do a great job of building her platform. She's built it on on Instagram, not LinkedIn at all. I don't think she might have a profile there. I don't know. But in case she's mostly on Instagram because that makes sense for her. It's visual. It's where people go to look at pretty images, and her images, as you can see, are absolutely amazing. And so that's where she's built up quite a large following. But in any case, I want to show you something else too. So when I search on a search engine, I'm using Bing only because I've been searching stuff in Google. I've been all over stalking her websites, and people in Google might say, hey, let me serve you up, Finney. So I used Bing just because I wanted to show you something. So when you go into search and DC lifestyle photographer, and it gives you options, right? So the 10 best lifestyle photographers, she's right on top. And this is from Peerspace, right? So she's known not only in her industry, but other people are recommending her as well. And there's a few ways that she's done this, and we're going to walk through examples of how she has done this. Washington DC lifestyle photographer. Locate your DC lifestyle photographer, and apparently her name will come up here too. Just scrolling down. And they're just going down. So I thought that was interesting. Let me put in natural light because that's more specific, a specific type of look that people might be looking for. When I put in natural light photographer, we're getting more specific. How can you be more specific with the problems that you solve and solutions that you offer? When I get more specific and narrow down a niche, I want you to think about how you can do that for you. When I put in that, she comes up. Finney, Washington, D.C. photographer. And she even has talked about her SEO game has sort of been accidental. She's put in DC lifestyle photographer to describe her work and her pictures and her images. And that's sort of why it comes up sometimes. Let me actually go over just for kicks to Google and see what Google will show me when I do that. DC lifestyle photographer. You see here, it says DC based. I am DC based natural light photographer. this is great tips for your SEO as well. Include that search term in a natural way throughout your website and content. So this is on one page, she has that. On another page with Meet D Finney, she has, hi, my name is Danielle. I'm based in, again, natural light, where she's based, location, and what she does, very specific. I specialize in lifestyle portraiture, and I create warm and engaged. She goes on to describe it, and so it's right here. So on a couple different pages, and probably throughout the page. When you go into you go out, I'm not going to keep digging, but I feel like you get that. So I invite you to think about how you can do that for you. Another thing that I love to do is collaborations. And I don't know if her Maker series was focused on collaborating with people who have audiences that might work with her. Knowing her, they have been accidental, but she did a series where she focused on people who have audiences of folks who might be future customers and clients, and she highlighted them on her platform. So this is a beautiful woman, Nicaila Matthews. She has a podcast that's multiple millions of downloads. It's a very popular podcast. And she featured, well, one, she was a client, and she featured her on her platform. So guess what Nicaila is going to do? She's going to share this with her audience, and they're going to click over here and see more about, Nicaila. Yes, and they're going to peruse around other work. They're going to take a look at these beautiful images and wonder, wow, can I get something like this for myself? And here it is. And sure, you can absolutely reach out to Danni from here. So that's another tip, right? Do collaborations with people who have access and own the relationships of people who might work with you. How can you do that for your industry, whether your industry is medical billing or practice management or accreditation? There are people who own the relationships with the practice owners that you need to connect with, whether these might be accountants or lawyers who work with practices who are building and scaling and growing or buying other practices. Maybe it might be a real estate agent who focuses on commercial real estate properties. There are real estate agents who focus on medical practices, right? That's an option that you can have. So there's that. Another thing that she's done well is set the buying criteria. She sets a criteria for what it should look like to work with a photographer. So this is an article 5, and this can easily be a Facebook post, a Facebook Live, a LinkedIn Live, a YouTube video, and all of those things, right? Easily, you can repurpose content in multiple different ways. If you have questions about that, we can absolutely have a conversation. But in any case, 5 tips for planning a brand session when you don't feel like being photographed. So this is for a specific group of folks. A little context, she does a great job with brown skin and making our brown skin look absolutely gorgeous and radiant and more beautiful than it usually does. And a lot of us, because the standard of beauty kind of looks like the majority, it looks like pale skin tones, we might not be comfortable with seeing our face featured because we just haven't seen that. And so we might be a little hesitant. So I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but she did a great job of speaking to the unspoken fears of her best clients. So I invite you to think about, how can you speak to the fears of your future clients and show that you see them, that you hear them, that you can empathize. I talk a lot about the story brand story and showing up as a guide in your customer's stories, showing you have empathy, that you see them, you feel them, you may have been them at one point in time. And here's how to get over the challenge that they're facing. So 5 tips for planning a brand session we don't feel like being photographed. So long story short, she gives you a how-to. This is what, if you decide to work with another photographer, this is what they should support you with, right? They should hear your feelings. They should support you with being relaxed. You should feel comfortable with them. You should have a clear goal. So whether you want to work with Danni or find another photographer, she is setting the buying criteria of what that photography experience should feel like. So how are you setting the experience for your customers and what it should be like to engage with You as a consultant, you as a service provider, how are you showing people this is what a session should look like? This is what a consulting experience should feel like. These are some things that we should have together before, during, and after. How are you showing a behind the scenes of what it's like to work with you? So she does a very good job of showing the behind the scenes of what it looks like to work with her, both on her blog as well as over on Instagram. Also, objections, right? What are some common objections that people might have when it comes to engaging with you? Is it too cold? Is it too cold, right? She does, pictures outside. And sometimes that could be a slower season for people who, she does natural light, right? Outside, outdoor photos. She's addressing the objections. So what objections can you address in your content? Maybe it's a pricing objection, 3 reasons you should invest in working with a fill in what it is that you do. And long story short, start to use objections that people have as content that you can talk to, so that such that when people do reach out to work with you, you can either send them someplace to have their objections resolved, or they've read all about your content has answered all of their objections and challenges. And so when they reach out to work with you, it's a matter of logistics. You're not doing a whole lot of convincing energy or pulling energy. It's more of a more feminine, inviting energy versus a masculine getting people to work with you energy. And if you have questions about that, we can absolutely talk more. But 3 reasons you should take photos in the winter. Again, don't know how much strategy she put into this topic, but it's brilliant, and I wanted to highlight and show it to you. So cold photos, winter photos don't equal cold photos, because just because it's cold outside, she has a gift of making people look warm. And I don't know how she does it, but long story short, she does amazing job with that. And start the year off with fresh photos, right? A lot of people are doing rebrands in the beginning of the year, and they're getting their they're launching something new. And so that can absolutely be a great time for a photo shoot. Okay. And then she goes a little behind the scenes too. Depending on your industry, there might be room for that, or you might have to do it in a specific way. But in her industry, it's a creative. She's a personal brand. She is her own brand. She is the face of her business. So people are kind of curious about her as a person. How that might look for you in a more regulated industry, healthcare, legal, financial. They tend to want to know that you have your stuff together. So I don't know how much of an expose that you want to do. But again, as I teach my clients, as part of your brand story, where you talk about how you are a guide and your empathy and authority, that's a part where you can bring in your story. But in any case, she does behind the scenes with talking about an overthinker. And so many of us are overthinkers. And so when we read this, we'll be like, oh, wow, Danni sees me. She is me. And she gives you resources to, get over stuff, or not necessarily get over it. I like how she puts it, things that she's found helpful. May be helpful to you, might not be, but she shares practical stuff to support you with that. And look at this. The likes tell it all. 15 likes, right? So there's that. So I invite you to think about how you can show behind the scenes, some of your personality, how that can come through, because humans, we are attracted to humans. And when we make buying decisions, even if you're doing B2B, you are connecting with a human on the other side. And that's just the facts of life. So I think I already went through that. And then a recap, right? A recap, you might choose to do a recap. You have to get permission for it first, but of your clients that you featured, case studies before they work with you, how it was like working with you and the result that you were able to get them. And, a lot of people do like to be featured as a success. And some, again, get your permission first, would be open for you to sharing, because as you share about them, they're on, they'll be featured, and they're likely to share this with other people. And when you scroll down, this is so meta, there I am. So her, and a little context, these headshots were a gift. She was really super tired of seeing the headshots I had. And I helped her with her business in a very practical way, helping getting a cornerstone of support in place so that she could show up for herself in new ways in her business. But in any case, so I want this to be useful and practical. Again, we're here because we want to be seen, be known as a solution provider within our industry and beyond. We don't want to rely on the leftovers of word of mouth marketing or family and friend centric marketing. We want to build our own platform so that we can be the thought leader we are and the pivotal player in our industry shaping conversations. And how do we do that? We do that a few ways. Look at best practices. Success leaves clues. I just shared with you a case study of what it looks like to build your own body of work. I didn't even touch what she's done on Instagram and Facebook because right now her reputation is speaking for herself, because the people who do work with her, they're sharing their experience of working with her. Of course, their pictures, and they're talking about the wonderful experience they had with working with Danni. When she does her mentoring, those students come in, they also learn from her, and then they go out to their respective networks across the country and talk about what they learned through their mentoring session and share pictures from their mentoring session. And then her peers, right? Her peers are also sharing about her work on their respective platforms. Think about the Dream 100 strategy. I've talked about that in a few videos. I have a video here around that strategy, but she's actually doing the Dream 100 strategy, whether or not she realizes it or not, but in an amazing way that has brought her great opportunities. So there are opportunities just waiting for you, specifically for you. They're tailor-made for you. And you can create opportunities and referrals by design if you choose to. So I hope this was useful. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, please leave these in the comments below. Take care.